Hi everybody, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. Today we are making some ugly chicken empanadas. And this recipe is my take on a Colombian empanada and a Puerto Rican empanada. Some of the ingredients are from the Puerto Rican empanada. I like the flavor, and everybody that has eaten them in the past love them. You can use ground beef, you can use pork, you can use chicken. You can stuff your empanadas with cheese if you like, but this is a really easy recipe, and I'm going to show you what my ingredients are if you'll just hang on a moment. Today I made homemade Sofrito. This is a red looking Sofrito. It is a Puerto Rican Sofrito. You can buy it in the store. It's by Goya. It comes in two size jars. It comes in a small jar and a large jar. And this is homemade ricotta. And when I get done with this, I'm probably going to stick the rest of this in the freezer so it doesn't go bad too quick. My recipe for that makes a lot, and I take it in 2-cup increments and bag it up and stick it in the freezer on a cookie sheet to allow it to freeze, and then I change it over to the actual freezer space. I'm going to be using my boneless chicken breast, my ugly chicken. I'm going to drain the broth off and skim off the fat. I'm going to be using some olive oil. I'm going to be using pan. Pan is a corn base. This one happens to be white. You can use masa. You can use cornmeal if you don't mind it being a little bit more rugged. Cornmeal tends to be a little bit coarser than this. I'm going to be using some adobo, and I do have another jar of adobo. I just pulled out the one that I've been using. I'm going to be using sazon, and this one is the one that I have on hand. I'm going to be using it. The recipe calls for fresh chopped beefsteak, tomato, half a tomato, and I'm doubling my recipe because my chicken is about 1.5 pints, which is about 1.5 pounds. I could actually triple the recipe if I wanted to, but I decided I'd have a little more chicken in mind. I am going to use what I have on hand, which is rotel. We like the green chilies, so that should be good. For the side, I'm going to be doing a mock potato. This is a Yuca, spelled Y-U-C-A. The skin of this has wax on it. This one probably weighs about 3 pounds, I would think. I am also going to be using 2 russet potatoes, and I've already started chopping them up so you can see about the size of the pieces, are about 1/2 inch. And the potato goes into the empanada. The yuca will be fried separately, and I will have a salad on the side. The recipe for my empanadas with the pan and everything, go back to my potatoes, is only 22 grams of carbs, y'all. Now my yuca, this thing, is 5.3 grams of carbs, and it is also diabetic friendly on the glycemic index. So basically my meal is going to have just a few carbs in it, and my blood sugar should be good tonight, we're hoping. But these are the ingredients again, y'all. I've got adobo, sazon, rotel, ugly chicken, some olive oil, pan, and my ricotta and my Sofrito, which I made today. So let's get this thing started. Okay, y'all, I have got 3 tablespoons of ricotta and 3 tablespoons of Sofrito in my oil. And I'm just going to allow that to cook for a moment before I start adding in my other ingredients. Sorry, I got off the skillet. Can't wait until I have a handheld so I don't have to do this holding my phone right over a skillet. But that's what it looks like when you mix it up. Oh man, this stuff smells so good and fresh. I think I'm going to love those recipes. That's my first time making it at homemade. It's a little expensive if you buy the peppers and all that stuff in the store. Thankfully, I had some peppers that was in the freezer. I'm adding in my packet of sazon. And normally I wouldn't use a whole packet because it's basically, it adds to the flavor. I'm adding in my adobo, and it's about a tablespoon, maybe just a little bit more than a tablespoon. And I've got to get this stuff going because I don't want to burn my Sofrito and ricotta. Hang on just a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, it's a simmering away. I've drained all the juice off my ugly chicken. I'm adding it in. I'm going to break it up in the pot because we don't want these big chunks. This is the same chicken, y'all, that I use to make homemade chicken salad. I may do a video on that one day. We love the chicken salad. And you can see, as I'm breaking this up, it is a lot of meat for 2 people. But we can take these empanadas and freeze them, and uncooked, you wrap them in plastic wrap and freeze them. And now basically all I'm doing is going to mix the chicken in, and then I'll be turning my burner off because I don't have to heat this all the way through. It's already cooked. Everything in here is cooked. Now you see why I left the juice in there, because this chicken in the can is on the little dry side, so that little extra moisture will help. And I may add a little bit of the chicken broth back in that I poured into my rotel can. If you like more garlic, there's garlic already in the ricotta and Sofrito. You can add more garlic to this. Some of the recipes, hang on. Some of the recipes call for a little bit of bouillon to be added. And paprika, I choose not to put those in there. To me, those are not the traditional flavors. I do have one other ingredient I forgot to put it out. And let me grab those real quick. For time's sake, I have pre-chopped up my cilantro and my scallion, and this is about a 1/4 cup of each. I double bag it when I set it in the refrigerator so I don't smell up my refrigerator. And this really is all I do. I just mix it up. You really don't even have to cook the onions and the cilantro because they're going to cook in the oil when you fry these. I don't know if these will do very well in the air fryer, but I may try them in the air fryer just to see. But you can see that you get a little bit of color in your bites. The cilantro is going to add a notch of flavor, and I'm just going to take my little knife and taste this. Okay, I'm fine. It's hard to hold a phone, y'all. I'm sorry about my hand getting in the way. But I'm going to take a little bite. I do suggest that you taste it, but that tastes perfect. I mean, that's right on the money. So my homemade Sofrito and ricotta is right in the flavors. Because doing it fresh, it tastes a little bit different than it does coming out of the jar. But cooking it brings out all those flavors. I'm still breaking up a few pieces of chicken in here. You want it more shredded than you want it in chunks, because you're going to be spooning this onto your arepas, which are going to be the dough for the empanadas. Okay, my mixture in the bowl is 1.5 cups of pan or matza, or you can use cornmeal, 2 cups of warm water, 1 tablespoon of oil. I use a 1/2 tablespoon of sazon or turmeric, and I'm not putting the salt in. I'm putting adobo in, and I put maybe 2 teaspoons of adobo. And I'm going to add to this 2 cups of water, and then I'm going to check it for consistency. I probably could have added a little more sazon for the color, but that's fine. I did mix it with my hands. You want this to be whole and not cracked. So, and you want it to sit for a few minutes. A crack would look kind of like that. So if it starts cracking, you just add a little more water to it. And I'm going to get out my press, some plastic wrap, and we're going to put these empanadas together. I'm going to do a few of them up, and then I'm going to fry up some of the yuca, and then we'll see what our dinner plate looks like. Okay, there's my ball in the middle of the press. I'm sorry about my hand again, y'all. I'm just going to hand press it. I'm not going to put the other press on there because I'm not making tortillas. So I'm going to go a little bit larger than that. I may have to use this. Oh, I think I went too far. And it's a little wonky, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and get it loaded so you can see about how much you're going to put in there. And I'm going to lay my plastic back over the back, and we're going to go from there. Okay, I've got about 2.5, maybe 3 tablespoons. I'm going to check it and see if this is going to work. Yeah, I'm going to have to take some off. Hang on just a moment. Okay, I took about a tablespoon off. And you just basically fold it over and press all your edges. You can wet your edges a little bit if you think you need to. I'm going to flip this and press from the other side. Because I want to make sure it's good and sealed. You don't want any of your meat and mixture showing. And I'm just going to take it in my hand. If I can get it in my hand. Hold on just a moment. I can't do it one-handed. And I'm going to lay it in my grease. My oil is still kind of heating up, so that's going to take a moment or two. It's starting to show where it's cooking. I always lay mine in as soon as I make them. But when I wrap them to put in the freezer, I wrap them in plastic wrap, and then I bag them in a bag after they've been frozen on a cookie sheet. That way they maintain their shape and form. Okay, I flipped these. My middle one right here started cracking as I was putting in the pot, so I folded it over real quick, hoping it wouldn't crack anymore, but it did. But it's okay. It's going to be at I've used 6 tablespoons so far, and y'all can see this is a good size skillet, about a 12-inch skillet, and I can fit 3 in there. If I had done my wok, I probably could have fit all of them in there. And I use a slotted spoon to flip them. And this is what I got left over, y'all. I may do these tomorrow. I may let this sit in the fridge overnight and then make these tomorrow. Okay, I've turned my oil off because this is plenty for me and my husband. He'll probably eat 2. I'll eat 1. And I've got them on some paper towels on a plate to drain off some of the excess oil. And as you can see, this is a good dough. It's perfect. It's got a little crunch to it. I did cook them in Crisco instead of oil. I just like Crisco better. And I'm going to go on and get started on the Yucas and put my dough up in the fridge so it doesn't get dried out. And we'll finish those off tomorrow. I want to show you the flesh inside the Yuca. In this very middle, there's going to be a part that is inedible. It's going to be stringy. So I'm going to try to avoid that, but it may come out in my fries anyway. I'm going to take a paring knife and or my old hickory butcher knife, and this thing is old, y'all. And try to get this tough outside skin off. I'm going to cut it up into smaller pieces so that I can work with it. And then I'm going to cut this up in chunks that are like potatoes. Okay, y'all, the Yuca is cooking. I've got it all cut up. It took a few minutes. And I got the stem out. I'm going to bring my phone back over here so you can see. This is half a Yuca right here. So this is enough for 2 people. This is the stem part I was talking about that's in the middle of the Yuca. You see that little piece sticking out there? And you don't want to eat that. You never want to eat a Yuca raw. And this one is spelled Y-U-C-A, and not to be confused with the Yuca plant that grows in your yard with the pretty white flowers. This is a root that a lot of Spanish people eat. It can be put in stews, soups, it can be cooked, baked, it can be fried. I'm doing fried tonight since I have oil already. And it's going to look like a white on white meal with a little bit of green because these are not going to brown up like potatoes. They're going to be a little bit lighter, and they take a little bit longer to cook than a regular potato because they're a little bit harder, more dense than potatoes. But they smell a lot like a potato, and they look a lot like a potato. I've never had them fried like this. We're going to try this out tonight, y'all. But I think they're going to be okay. And I'm going to get this meat done up. I've already got my salad ready to go. And we're going to be eating here in a short, hubby's home. So, y'all just hold on. I'll show you what they look like once they're fried.